she makes herself a bachelor.
Let's get him.
It's the Bandit.
So what is the story behind Smokey and the Bandit? Well, to be honest, the story of these films is much more the story of their leading man. Reynolds was one of those unique figures in the history of Hollywood. An incomparable star in his time, with a string of giant hit films, seen today as more of a punchline or a figure from a time long forgotten. But if you really look back, you will see a truly charismatic leading man whose acting skills were never taken advantage of properly. Reynolds started out in Hollywood in the 1950s with guest star work on various television shows. The breakout role for Reynolds was in the 1972 drama film Deliverance. His role in the film as a machismo-laden outdoorsman made him a standout. After Deliverance, Reynolds went on a tear with multiple hits including White Lightning, The Longest Yard, and his directorial debut, Gator. But the film that could possibly define Reynolds' career came as the result of an old friendship sparked up in the late 50s. While working as a stuntman on the series Riverboat, Reynolds met Hal Needham. Needham was a legendary stuntman who wanted to one day direct his own films. In the mid-70s, Needham had written a script titled Smokey and the Bandit. The screenplay was bare bones with little exposition and laughably bad dialogue. Reynolds immediately jumped at the chance to work with an old friend, and his name on the project provided opportunities for funding that beforehand weren't available. Now, with Reynolds' star power and an amateur script, Smokey and the Bandit was in production.
Right now.
The making of Smokey and the Bandit is often described as one of those legendary moments where everyone on set was having a great time while making a film that would be highly regarded by the public. The success of the movie is likely the product of the casting choices. Reynolds as the suave leading man, country musician Jerry Reed is the second lead in the film, and the casting of the at-the-time little-known actress Sally Field ended up paying off greatly. Although the true star of the show is comedy icon Jackie Gleason as Sheriff Buford T. Justice. His inclusion in the film bolstered the comedic moments, and his decisions for the character throughout were ingenious. So what is my opinion of this film? Personally, I think this is one of those gold standard films. One of those movies that after it comes out, defines an entire genre of films after it. If one were to watch any car-centric film or chase movie, they will see that a lot of the inspiration comes from the original Smokey and the Bandit. But what makes this film great isn't the driving scenes, it's the comedy. Burt Reynolds has a quick wit and charm that makes the audience want to root for him, and Jackie Gleason's performance in the film is a true masterwork. His mostly ad-libbed lines are extremely memorable and are likely what made the film a mainstream hit. It is very obvious that Needham utilized all of his years of experience in stunt work when directing this film. Each stunt gets increasingly dangerous, and the driving in the film's iconic 77 Trans Am looks realistic and daring. The last element that I think was really important to the success of the movie was the romance between Reynolds and Sally Field. In the film, their characters suddenly have their lives entangled, and over the course of the chase, they fall in love. In real life, this also happened with Reynolds and Field. The two fell for each other during the process of making the film. This chemistry shows on screen and provides the movie with some of its best scenes. After becoming a huge hit in the South, the film was released across the northern states and made huge returns there too. By the end of 1977, Smokey and the Bandit was the second highest grossing film. Studio executives immediately pushed Needham to write a sequel. And unfortunately for all involved, he did. So what is my opinion of the sequel? I honestly was pretty hyped to watch this movie. I had read bad reviews and heard that it wasn't great, but I was sure there had to be something redeeming about this film. I was dead wrong. While the first movie felt like watching a bunch of old friends do perilous stunts while making funny jokes, this film felt like everyone was blackmailed into returning. Reynolds is natural in his role, but he seems uninspired throughout. Jackie Gleason definitely had a great time playing Buford T. Justice, and that shows in the sequel as well. The scenes between Reynolds and Fields feel very real and demonstrate the acting range of both actors. Sally Field is especially impactful though, and these parts of the movie give it a lot of substance. The car stunts in this film are impressive as it is obvious they are all still done practically, but there is a gimmicky nature to them that wasn't felt during the first movie. The final standoff sequence in a desert was truly impressive though, and was really the highlight of the movie. Overall, I would say it's really disappointing that this film was as much of a failure as it was. It had a lot of potential to improve and expand on the premise of the franchise's first outing, but instead just went for cheap laughs. Audiences recognized the failure of the sequel, and while the film didn't lose money, it only took home around $66 million in the box office. In a lot of ways, I see this as the true death of this franchise, and you will see what I mean with the third film, Smokey and the Bandit 3, which in a lot of ways feels like a zombified cash grab of a sequel. So I'm not going to talk a lot about this movie. Not much really needs to be said. The making of this film is truly a mystery, as I just don't know how the hell this thing got greenlit or even made it through production. It's missing its leading man, Burt Reynolds. He refused to return for another sequel. They replaced the whole Bandit character with another character from the films, Buford T. Justice. This really can be seen as the fatal flaw of the film. Anytime a franchise decides to focus an entire movie on the comic relief, it usually doesn't end well, and this film is truly embarrassing. The only redeemable part is a short cameo from Reynolds, which made for a lighthearted scene between he and Gleason. It's the only short period where it actually felt like a Smokey and the Bandit movie. And this movie rightfully tanked at the box office, only making $7 million when the film had a $9 million budget. And that was the end for this franchise, plain and simple. No fanfare or anything, just 2 bad sequels and a collective goodbye from the domestic box office. When people look back on this franchise, it's often just referred to as Smokey and the Bandit, and not the Smokey and the Bandit films. And I think that's a good thing, because if I were Hal Needham or Burt Reynolds, I would hope nobody would go looking for Smokey and the Bandit 2 or 3.